I can't recall a certain moment that I knew that these girls would be my best friends. It kind of was just the overall experiences that we all had last year together, that when I look back, I don't even remember not being friends.
We moved in at the beginning of our freshman year, obviously, and Greta and I were roommates. And before we decided we were going to be roommates, I was looking on Instagram at like other girls that I could be roommates with. And I met Lucy, and we were like DMing a little bit on Instagram, which was cute. And then when we moved in, I saw her walking down the hallway, and I was like, this looks just like the girl from Instagram. And then I put two and two together and realized that it was her.
I remember going over to the room right next door and saying hi with a very talkative, bubbly brunette, and then a beautiful, little bit shy blonde.
I told Greta, and I was like, I know that girl, like, live next door. She's blonde. She's so nice. And then I saw Liz and the little red-headed one in the corner. I'm kidding. And I was honestly a little bit intimidated by Liz at first, but then we became best friends.
We all went to Roadie Fest together, which was a really fun activity for us to do as freshmen, and we really just clung to each other right away.
We made little signs that had our names on them and like little funky things.
I just knew, and I just had such a good feeling that this year was going to be a great year.
We spent the entire day together, and that very quickly became our routine. We would go to our classes and then come back and hang out together and go to pretty much any event we had to, and we just always knew that we would be back at the end of the day to come back and hang out with each other.
It really showed me how close you can get with someone. And we didn't know much about each other at first. And it's definitely a learned thing over time. Our behaviors, our likes, our dislikes.
I think throughout the year we just got closer and closer, and Liz would take naps in my bed, which I thought was kind of funny.
Freshman year can always be tough, and having people that you can count on and know are going to be there for you at the end of every day was really valuable to have.
But there's so much that is so different about us, but it didn't matter because we just work so well together. And that's how I feel about the four of us. We're all so different, even though sometimes we bicker, but the laughter, the love, the fun, it always beats out anything negative.
And I think that being friends with these girls really taught me how to be myself and express my emotions. And I think a big part for me was I like making people laugh, and I've always felt that way in my life.
And we were able to talk about things very early on in our friendship, and it felt like we had known each other for years when it had only been a few weeks.
Even though Greta and Emma have been friends since they were babies, we've never felt that disconnect there. They tell so many stories, show us so many photos that I feel like we were there with them.
Well, like growing up, I was never really comfortable with like being very vulnerable with my friends. I always tried to like crack a joke to lighten the mood, and I feel like being friends with them kind of let me for the first time be comfortable enough to like show my vulnerable side and be close.
I could say anything to them, and we understood each other in a way that seemed abnormal to understand each other that quick.
And that I knew that if we met each other in elementary school and middle school, even during our weird and awkward times, that we would still be best friends.
And I think this little group let me make my friends laugh, but also they also let me be myself and be comfortable.
I think knowing that these girls were always going to be there for me was when I knew that they were going to be in my life forever, because I could say anything to them and we understood each other in a way that seemed abnormal to understand each other that quick. And we were able to talk about things very early on in our friendship, and it felt like we had known each other for years when it had only been a few weeks.
You're at 3 minutes, so.
Oh, all right, I'll cut it.
You're done?
Should I have a conclusion?
If you want.